Steven, if you think I let you go just so you can get on with your life...
And Raj said, I want to give Dee a present, and that's all there was to it.
Hold on. The last time you were this nice to me, I had to have my tonsils out. And Mom baked cookies.
Hello. Sorry we're late, ladies. We had to do a little clothes shopping. Well, Tyrone?
Yeah, here's something to worry about. If you's white, what you mean? They won't hurt us, because we slaves. They's fighting for us.
They were once the most famous child stars, becoming childhood icons for millions of viewers, appearing on screen every week and bringing laughter and emotions to an entire generation. But then, these boys and girls suddenly vanished without a trace, as if they had never existed. Behind their disappearance were a series of tragedies, heartbreaking stories buried in silence, and mysteries that were never solved. No one knows where they went, and no one talks about them anymore. Did Hollywood erase them from the public's memory? Or are there hidden truths still being covered up? Join today's video as we unravel the lingering mysteries behind the mysterious disappearance of 15 black child stars. First, Kristoff St, John, a star's tragic downfall. Kristoff St. John stepped into Hollywood at just 10 years old and was quickly recognized as a rare talent. His role as young Alex Haley in Roots, The Next Generation's 1979, marked him as a promising child star. With his natural and heartfelt acting, Kristoff continued to shine and reached new heights of success with his portrayal of Neil Winters in The Young and the Restless. It seemed that fame and fortune would illuminate the life of this talented actor, but fate had a cruel twist in store, one of unbearable tragedy. In 2014, while reading a script in his room, Kristoff received devastating news. His eldest son, Julian St. John, had taken his own life in a psychiatric hospital at the age of 24 after years of battling depression. That loss shattered Kristoff's world, plunging him into a deep abyss of despair. Racked with guilt for being unable to save his son, he spiraled downward. Once a beloved television icon admired by millions, he became a man consumed by sorrow and alcohol. Those close to Kristoff noticed a drastic change in him after Julian's passing. The once passionate actor on set had transformed into a lonely figure, drowning his pain in liquor to escape reality. Many nights, he would sit alone in his car outside the cemetery where his son was buried, whispering as if speaking to Julian. A close friend once received a text from him that read, "I don't know how much longer I can keep living like this." When they went to check on him, they found Kristoff sitting motionless in a corner of his room, an empty bottle of alcohol beside him and a vacant look in his eyes. On February 3, 2019, police found Kristoff St. John dead in his home, surrounded by empty liquor bottles scattered on the floor. The official cause of death was heart failure, exacerbated by alcohol abuse. A tragic ending, yet perhaps an inevitable one after years of relentless grief and hopelessness. Kristoff St. John's story serves as a heartbreaking reminder of how even the brightest stars can be extinguished by personal demons. From the dazzling lights of Hollywood to the lonely shadows of his final days, his passing left behind an irreplaceable void in the hearts of those who once adored him. 2. Jaimee Foxworth, The Darkest Fall of a Forgotten Child Star. In the late 1980s, Jaimee Foxworth became a familiar face to American audiences as Judy Winslow in the hit sitcom Family Matters, 1989 to 1993. Her character was a staple of many childhoods, paving the way for what seemed to be a promising career. But before her star could fully rise, Hollywood slammed the door shut. After 4 seasons, Judy Winslow suddenly disappeared from the show with no explanation. The producers decided to cut her character to focus on Steve Urkel, and to make things worse, the writers didn't even bother providing a proper send-off. The cast and crew simply acted as if she had never existed. At just 14 years old, Jaimee was cast aside by Hollywood. She struggled to find new roles, but the industry had already moved on. The real tragedy, however, came when her family's finances collapsed. Once the primary breadwinner, Jaimee was now jobless. Her family was forced to dip into her $500,000 trust fund just to survive. But even that wasn't enough. As debt piled up and creditors hounded them day and night, Jaimee's mother would break down in tears every time another overdue bill arrived. Feeling powerless as her family fell apart, Jaimee turned to drugs and alcohol to escape reality. And when she had no other options, she took a desperate step into an unfamiliar and unforgiving world, the adult film industry. Her first contract was signed with trembling hands, but Jaimee convinced herself that this was her only way to make money. Gone were the flashing lights of Hollywood and the applause of adoring fans. Instead, she was surrounded by an industry that had no warmth, no respect. During her first scene, she broke down in tears, only to be mocked for being unprofessional. When the media exposed the truth, the public was shocked. The once beloved child star of Family Matters had now become a controversial figure in adult films. Those who once adored her now either pitied or scorned her. Hollywood turned its back on her completely, erasing her as if she had never existed. The isolation and repeated traumas sent Jaimee deeper into addiction. But before it was too late, she made a choice. She fought to reclaim her life. She entered rehab, left the adult film industry behind, and worked to rebuild herself. In 2009, she gave birth to her first son and vowed never to return to her past. Yet, a painful question lingers. If Hollywood had not cruelly abandoned a 14-year-old girl, would Jaimee Foxworth have been forced onto such a tragic path? 3. Danielle Spencer, the tragedy that haunted her forever. Danielle Spencer was one of the most recognizable black child stars of the 1970s, winning audiences over with her role as Dee Thomas in What's Happening, 1976 to 1979. With her sharp wit and natural charm, she quickly became a fan favorite. But just as her career was on the rise, a horrific tragedy changed the course of her life forever. In 1977, while returning home, the car carrying Danielle and her stepfather lost control, flipping multiple times before crashing violently. When Danielle woke up 3 weeks later, hospital lights blinded her. She couldn't move. Tubes and wires covered her fragile body, and pain was etched into every inch of her small frame. The first words she whispered to her mother were, "Where's Dad?" But her mother's tearful shake of the head told her everything. Danielle's stepfather had died in the crash. He had wrapped his arms around her, shielding her from the impact and sacrificing himself so she could live. At just 11 years old, Danielle's world shattered. Despite her physical injuries, she pushed through and finished filming What's Happening. But the lights of Hollywood had lost their magic. When the show ended in 1979, Danielle walked away from the industry, choosing a path inspired by her stepfather's love, becoming a veterinarian. She thought she had left the past behind, but the pain never let her go. Decades later, in 2004, doctors diagnosed her with spinal stenosis, a serious condition linked to her childhood injuries. It left her temporarily paralyzed for 8 months, forcing her to endure painful surgeries just to walk again. Then, in 2018, another cruel blow came. Danielle was diagnosed with breast cancer. Once again, she found herself in a life-or-death battle. Audiences once remembered Danielle as the bright, sassy young girl who lit up the screen. But behind that image was a woman who had spent her entire life fighting against fate. Would her life have been different if she had never entered Hollywood? Or was this tragic destiny always waiting for her? 4. Todd Bridges, a child star consumed by crime and addiction. In 1978, at just 13 years old, Todd Bridges became one of the most famous black child stars in America, with his role as Willis Jackson in the hit sitcom Different Strokes. Bridges quickly became a pop culture icon, adored by millions. But in a cruel twist of fate, his fame faded just as quickly as it had risen once Different Strokes ended. From a sought-after young actor, Bridges suddenly found himself without roles, contracts, or income. The shadow of his past success loomed too large, making it nearly impossible for him to carve out a new place in the entertainment industry. Desperate and disillusioned, Bridges turned to drugs, seeking an escape from the harsh reality of rejection. But what he thought was a temporary refuge soon became an inescapable cycle of crime and addiction. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Bridges transformed from a promising actor into a hardened criminal. He was arrested multiple times for drug possession, driving under the influence, and even assault. The lavish movie sets of his past were replaced by the dark corners of drug-infested neighborhoods where he sank deeper into substance abuse. In his desperation, Bridges turned to dealing drugs himself to finance his addiction. His downfall reached its lowest point in 1989 when he was accused of shooting and killing a drug dealer during a transaction gone wrong. When police arrested him, he was nothing more than a frail addict, barely recognizable from the child star millions once adored. The case sent shockwaves across America. How could a beloved child actor fall so far? His mugshot, wrists bound in handcuffs, splashed across every major newspaper with sensational headlines. But in an unexpected turn of events, Bridges was acquitted due to a lack of evidence. He had narrowly escaped a life sentence, but he was still trapped in the clutches of addiction. In one terrifying moment, he overdosed in his car and his heart stopped beating. Had no one found him in time, his name would have been added to the tragic list of child stars who died too young. That near-death experience became his wake-up call. Bridges finally made the decision to fight for his life. He broke free from drugs, left his criminal past behind, and started the long road to redemption. In his 2010 memoir, Killing Willis, Bridges laid bare the grim reality of his life as a child star, one of abuse, exploitation, and abandonment. Todd Bridges' story is not just a personal tragedy. It is a harsh indictment of the Hollywood system that takes bright-eyed children, drains them of everything, and then discards them when they are no longer profitable. For Bridges, the fall from grace was more than just a career setback. It was a life sentence, one handed down by an industry that had failed him in every way possible. 5. Shavar Ross, the horrific secret behind an innocent smile. With his role as Dudley Ramsey in Different Strokes, 1980 to 1986, Shavar Ross etched himself into viewers' memories with his humor and endearing charm. But few knew that behind the innocent smile on screen lay a pain that the young boy kept buried for years. Among the memorable episodes of Different Strokes, one scene sent shockwaves through audiences when Ross's character Dudley was abused by a child predator. When it aired, the episode left the public stunned and sparked discussions about the issue of child abuse. What no one in the cast or crew knew, however, was that Ross wasn't acting in that scene. He had already lived it in real life. Ross carried a horrific secret. As a child, he had been abused by a family member. Terrified, he never dared to speak the truth. When it came time to film that scene, Ross didn't need to imagine the fear. He had felt it before. When the cameras stopped rolling, the crew applauded his convincing performance, oblivious to the fact that inside, he was trembling as dark memories flooded back. No one asked if he was okay. No one noticed the real pain of that little boy. Perhaps in the world of Hollywood, all that mattered was the ratings, while the emotions of child actors, real children, were left neglected. After Different Strokes ended, Ross's career gradually faded into obscurity. The once beloved Dudley was cast aside by Hollywood. No one remembered him, and no one offered him new opportunities. But unlike many of his peers who spiraled into drugs, alcohol, or crime, Ross chose to flee the spotlight, seeking a different path, one rooted in faith. He believed religion was the only way to free himself from his trauma. Yet even after leaving the entertainment industry behind, the darkness clung to him like an endless nightmare. On many nights, standing alone in a church, Ross would hear echoes of his past. Prayers rose from his lips, but deep down, he still wondered, if God was always watching, why didn't he protect me when I was just a child? Though he had walked away from Hollywood, the wounds in Ross's soul never truly healed. Some tragedies never end. They're simply buried deeper, in corners where light can't reach. 6. Matthew Stymibeard, the lonely end of a comedy icon. Once a beloved face of the Our Gang comedy series, Matthew Stymibeard brought laughter to America during the Great Depression. Though he was adored and hailed as a generational icon, the bitter truth was that Hollywood never truly valued him. Like many black actors of his time, Beard was paid significantly less than his white co-stars and had no choice but to accept Hollywood's unspoken rules. Yet the greatest cruelty was not in the pay disparity, but in how the industry discarded him once he grew up. No more roles, no more opportunities. No one remembered the little boy named Jaimee. Abandoned by Hollywood, Beard fell into despair and poverty. He eventually succumbed to heroin addiction, spending decades trapped in its relentless grip. Though he later tried to recover and took on small guest roles, he never reclaimed his former glory. In his final years, Beard lived alone in a small apartment in Los Angeles, a far cry from the child star he once was. The toll of his past, both the addiction and the struggles, left him frail and aged beyond his years. On January 8, 1981, Beard woke up feeling weaker than usual. His body, worn down by years of substance abuse and high blood pressure, could no longer keep up. As he made his way down the stairs, a sudden stroke hit him. Unable to grab hold of anything, he collapsed onto the cold floor, unconscious. No cameras, no flashing lights, no audience, just the silence of an empty room. Hours passed before anyone realized he was missing. When neighbors failed to see him that day, they checked his apartment, only to find his lifeless body. Beard's death caused no media stir, no tributes, no memorials. Hollywood remained silent, as if he had never existed. A child star who once made the nation laugh was now gone, forgotten, erased, a cruel reminder of how the entertainment industry disposes of its own. 7. Billy Buckwheat, Thomas, a star, mocked in his final days. Another standout star from our gang, Billy Buckwheat. Thomas became a household name with his signature braided pigtails and mischievous smile. Yet, behind that joyful image was a child who unknowingly walked into the same trap of fleeting fame. When the series ended, Billy found himself unable to continue acting. Just like Beard, he realized that Hollywood had never cared about black child stars once they outgrew their roles. Offers vanished, and the industry quickly lost interest in the boy who once charmed millions. Left without options, Billy abandoned his dream of acting and took a regular job. He became a film technician at Technicolor, working behind the scenes instead of in front of the camera. His job consisted of restoring and preserving film reels, ironically, the same type of films that had once made legends out of others, but had long forgotten him. One day, during a break at work, a colleague recognized him as Buckwheat. Instead of admiration, laughter filled the room. A star from back in the day, now just cleaning film reels for others? Someone scoffed. Mockery replaced respect. The past that had once been his pride had now turned into a joke. Billy clenched the film reel in his hands, swallowing his humiliation. Hollywood had not only erased him, it had made him a spectacle to be laughed at. On the night of October 9, 1980, Billy finished a late shift. As he walked home, a sharp pain struck his chest. He brushed it off, trying to ignore the discomfort. But later that night, the pain intensified, ripping through his body. He collapsed in his small apartment, reaching for the phone, but his weakening fingers never made it. An old Our Gang film reel sat untouched on his table, a bitter reminder of the legacy he had once held. Hours passed. No one heard his fall. No one came to check on him. It wasn't until the next afternoon, when he failed to show up for work, that his co-workers sent for the police. They found him on the floor, his expression frozen in the final moments of pain. For more than a decade, Billy Thomas brought joy to millions. But when he left the screen, and even when he took his last breath, no one in Hollywood cared. No tribute, no funeral honors, no recognition. The world only remembered Buckwheat as a childhood character, never as the man behind the role. 8. Gary Coleman, the heartbreaking fall of a forgotten child star. Once the highest-paid child star in Hollywood, Gary Coleman was an icon of the 1980s with his role as Arnold Jackson in Different Strokes. His famous catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" became a cultural phenomenon, printed on t-shirts and merchandise, forever etched in television history. But Hollywood only loves its child stars when they are young and cute. Gary was no exception. When Different Strokes ended in 1986, Gary lost not just his career but his sense of purpose. He struggled to find roles, but his short stature, caused by a lifelong battle with kidney disease, made directors see him as a child trapped in a man's body. No one wanted to cast him. The once lucrative offers disappeared, and Hollywood had no place for him anymore. As his career crumbled, Gary discovered a horrifying truth. The $18 million he had earned was gone. His adoptive parents had drained his fortune, leaving him with almost nothing. Betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect him, Gary lost everything: his fame, his wealth, and his trust in the world. But the nightmare didn't end there. By 1990, his health had deteriorated. He required dialysis 3 times a week to survive, yet Hollywood only offered him small, humiliating roles. No one saw him as the beloved star he once was, just a relic of the past. Desperate to make ends meet, Gary took a job as a security guard at a small shopping mall. At night, he would return to his tiny apartment in Utah, sometimes flipping through TV channels only to see reruns of Different Strokes, watching his younger self bring laughter to America while his present life was nothing but silent despair. From child star to struggling security guard, from millionaire to broke, Gary Coleman's life was the ultimate Hollywood tragedy. A dream turned nightmare, a legend left to fade into obscurity. 9. Kevin Hooks, a talented child star and a mysterious illness. Kevin Hooks was once considered one of Hollywood's most promising young actors. In 1972, at just 14 years old, he captivated audiences with his performance in Sounder, becoming one of the first young black actors to break into the industry with such acclaim. With his undeniable talent, many believed Hooks was destined for a long and successful career. But just as his star was beginning to rise, he suddenly disappeared from the screen, without a single explanation. What no one knew was that from a young age, Hooks had been secretly battling a rare neurological disorder that caused unpredictable muscle control loss. Some days, he would wake up unable to lift his arms. Other times, his entire body would tremble so violently that filming a scene became impossible. But in an industry that had no patience for weakness, Hooks was forced to conceal his condition in order to keep working. As time went on, the episodes became more severe. He was rushed to the hospital multiple times in the middle of important projects, yet he continued to push through, desperate to hold on to his place in Hollywood. But eventually, hiding his illness became impossible. The toll on his body and mind became too much to bear. Without any announcement or farewell, Hooks quietly stepped away from the spotlight. No press conferences, no official retirement, just an exit into silence. Though he left acting, Hooks refused to abandon his passion for storytelling. He transitioned behind the scenes, becoming a director, a career that allowed him to continue working in Hollywood without having to be in front of the camera. No one would see the Kevin Hooks who had lost control over his own body. Hooks could have reached the pinnacle of Hollywood success. He had the talent, the drive, and the potential to become one of the greats. But fate had other plans. He didn't leave Hollywood because he lacked ability. He left because a cruel, invisible force took away his chance to live the dream he had worked so hard for. 10. Emanuel Lewis, a silent battle against unseen pain. Emanuel Lewis was once the face of childhood joy in America. With his bright smile and small stature, he captured the hearts of millions as Webster, the adorable and lovable boy in the hit sitcom Webster. For years, he was a household name, a symbol of innocence and laughter. But when the show ended in 1989, Lewis vanished from Hollywood, leaving behind a mystery that no one could explain. Many assumed he had chosen to step away from the industry to live a quiet, peaceful life. But beneath the silence was a heartbreaking truth he never wanted the public to know. He had been fighting a relentless hidden battle all along. From childhood, Lewis had suffered from a severe growth hormone deficiency, which prevented his body from developing like that of an average person. But what the world didn't see was that his condition was more than just about height. It came with excruciating complications. Over time, the disorder caused severe damage to his nervous system and internal organs. Every day, he woke up to chronic pain, his muscles unpredictably spasming, leaving him at times unable to move normally. And yet, despite it all, he continued to smile for the cameras, refusing to let the world see his suffering. At one of his rare public appearances, Lewis suddenly collapsed on stage in front of a stunned audience. But as soon as he was helped to his feet, he forced a bright smile, waving as if nothing had happened. The crowd assumed it was nothing more than exhaustion, a brief moment of weakness. But in reality, it was a grim sign of what his body had endured over the years. As Hollywood's interest in him faded, Lewis made a painful decision: to disappear before the world could witness him deteriorating. He declined interviews, distanced himself from the media, and retreated from the public eye. It wasn't because he no longer loved acting, but because he wanted to preserve the memory people had of him, forever frozen as the happy, energetic Webster. Emanuel Lewis's disappearance was not just a career choice, it was a tragedy in itself. A man who once brought so much joy to millions was forced to hide his pain, to keep his suffering a secret, just so people could hold on to the perfect image of him in their memories. In the end, he chose to fade away quietly, ensuring that the Webster people loved would remain untouched by the cruel passage of time. 11. Rodney Allen Rippy, exploited and drained until nothing was left. In the 1970s, Rodney Allen Rippy became a sensation, especially known for his appearance in the Jack in the Box commercials. With his chubby-cheeked smile and endearing personality, he skyrocketed to fame, helping the brand generate millions in revenue while earning over $1 million himself through endorsements, talk shows, and appearances. But tragically, that fortune was never truly his. Rippy's parents controlled every aspect of his finances, constantly assuring him that the money was being invested for his future. Yet, when he turned 18 and checked his bank account, he was shocked to find barely $5,000 remaining. Over $1 million had vanished, not due to reckless spending, but through questionable investments and financial mismanagement that he had never been informed about. And just like that, Hollywood, once eager to capitalize on his charm, turned its back on him. The contracts, the offers, the attention, all disappeared overnight. Instead of meeting with producers, Rippy found himself waiting in long unemployment lines, applying for regular jobs like anyone else. During one interview, a hiring manager glanced at his resume and asked, "Aren't you the Jack in the Box kid?" Rodney forced a weak smile and nodded, but instead of admiration, all he received was a sympathetic shake of the head. He had once been a sought-after star, but now no one needed him anymore. Years later, Rippy pivoted to business and even ran for mayor of Compton, trying to reclaim control over his life. But no matter how much he rebuilt, Hollywood would always remain a bitter chapter in his story, one where he was used, drained, and then discarded without a second thought. 12th. Mark Copage, a child star, lost in lonely nights. In the late 1960s, Mark Copage became a beloved face on television, playing Corey in Julia, 1968 to 1971, a groundbreaking sitcom that reshaped American TV. The show made him famous, earning him admiration from millions. But when the series ended, so did his career. Hollywood had no more use for him. Copage fought to stay in the industry, auditioning for every role he could find, but the response was always the same: "There's no role for you." At that time, leading roles for young black actors were nearly non-existent. From being on national television every week, Copage was now completely unemployed. His savings dried up, forcing him to sleep in his car, sometimes wandering to find places to crash. Once a household name, he now had nowhere to call home. As desperation set in, he accepted any job that would pay the bills: waiting tables, working at grocery stores, even manual labor. The Hollywood that had once embraced him no longer remembered his name. Former co-stars had thriving careers, but Copage was left behind, spending lonely nights in his old car, wondering if anyone even remembered him. Eventually, after years of struggling, Copage gave up on Hollywood. He chose a quiet, ordinary life, working far from the industry that had once worshipped him. There were no bright lights, no applause, just a forgotten star fading away into obscurity. 13. Ralph Carter, Hollywood's cold-blooded abandonment of a cultural icon. Ralph Carter was once a symbol of hope and inspiration, dazzling audiences as Michael Evans in Good Times, 1974 to 1979. His character, a sharp, passionate young man fighting for justice, became a powerful representation of black youth in America. But once the show ended, so did his opportunities. Carter desperately searched for new roles, but Hollywood had already moved on. Casting directors dismissed him with vague excuses. "We'll keep you in mind," or "We're going in a different direction." But the real message was clear. They no longer wanted him. During one humiliating audition, a director studied him for a long moment before sighing and saying, "Do you still think you're Michael Evans?" Hollywood has moved on. That moment shattered something inside Carter. He knew then that the industry had no place for him anymore. Weeks later, he was offered a rare audition opportunity. Clinging to hope, he opened the script, praying for a chance to prove himself. But as he read through the lines, his heart sank. The only role they offered him? A homeless man wandering the streets, forgotten by society. Carter walked out of the audition and ripped the script apart, but it didn't change the painful truth. This was how Hollywood saw him now. A washed-up star with nowhere left to go. With no other options, Carter abandoned Hollywood altogether, turning to theater work as a last attempt to hold on to his passion. But without the same spotlight, he became a forgotten figure. From millions of adoring fans to complete erasure, Carter was wiped from Hollywood's memory, as if he had never existed at all. Perhaps the cruelest fate is not being forgotten, but realizing that despite once shining brilliantly, you ultimately become nothing more than an empty void in this unforgiving industry. 14. Kim Fields, The Price of a Bold Decision. Kim Fields was one of the brightest child stars of the 1980s, leaving a lasting impression with her role as Tootie Ramsey in The Facts of Life, 1979 to 1988. At the height of her career, she made a bold decision, leaving Hollywood to pursue higher education. Everyone believed it was a wise choice, assuming she would return with an even stronger career. But reality was far from what she expected. When Fields attempted to re-enter the entertainment industry, she was met with a harsh truth. Hollywood had long forgotten her. Auditions ended in disappointment. Doors that were once wide open were now shut tight. No one wanted the little Tootie anymore. Determined not to give up, Fields shifted her focus to directing, hoping to take control of her own career path. However, as a black woman in Hollywood, breaking into the industry behind the scenes proved to be an even greater challenge. She quickly encountered the invisible barriers of sexism and racial discrimination, barriers that had held back countless talents like her. During one production meeting, while passionately pitching a project she had poured her heart into, a male producer suddenly grabbed her arm, pulled her in close, and whispered through clenched teeth, "Don't you understand how Hollywood works? If you want a place here, you have to know how to play along." Fields yanked her arm free, shocked by his audacity. When their eyes met, she saw in them an unspoken warning. That moment wasn't just the loss of a project. It was the realization that Hollywood was not a place for black women who dared to demand equality. Despite her relentless efforts to stay in the industry, Fields never regained the spotlight she once had. Her name still appeared here and there, but the offers stopped coming. Hollywood didn't need to blacklist her. They simply stopped caring. And in this industry, indifference is the cruelest form of rejection. 15. Stephven Perry, The Talent That Was Erased. In 1961, Stephven Perry captivated audiences with his role as Travis in A Raisin in the Sun, a landmark film that shed light on the struggles of black Americans. But just a few years later, he had all but disappeared from Hollywood. Some sources suggest that Perry experienced a major personal crisis, forcing him to walk away from the entertainment industry forever. Rumors circulated that he had suffered a devastating accident that severely impacted his ability to act. One unverified story claims that Perry was involved in a horrific car crash, leaving his face permanently disfigured. After the tragedy, he attempted to return to Hollywood, hoping to rebuild his career. But as he walked into auditions, he quickly realized a painful truth. The industry had no room for an actor who no longer fit the perfect image. Hollywood turned its back on him, slamming the doors shut, offering him no second chances. The truth about Stephven Perry remains a mystery. No one knows for sure what really happened to him. But one thing is certain. Whether by neglect or by design, Hollywood didn't just forget about him. It seemed as if they had deliberately erased his name from history. Whether they faded away in silence or were consumed by tragedy, the disappearance of these former child stars leaves an undeniable sense of loss in the hearts of their fans. They once shined brilliantly, only to be extinguished by the ruthless shadows of Hollywood. The fame they once knew was never enough to protect them from the harsh, unforgiving machine of the entertainment industry. So, which story haunts you the most? Which tragedy lingers in your mind, refusing to fade? Share your thoughts with us, so that these once legendary names are not buried in the forgetfulness of time.